looking forward to having you join me in my kitchen tonight for some meal preps. Let me get this set up. If you are joining me, if you're watching this now, let me get back over here. If you're watching this now, you're probably watching the replay, and that's great. If you're joining me live, then I hope you will put in the comments where it is you're joining me from. I want to make sure I can get this up over here too. Let me go to my channel and let me adjust this camera just a little bit. We're going to be doing some barbecue tonight, but right now I am getting the food preps ready. And I just wanted to have you join me as I did that. So if I can get this set up so that I can listen in and make sure the audio is going through too. If you're joining live, it looks like I've got someone in there. I'd love it if you'd put in the comments that the audio is coming through okay. And we're going to jump in and get started here as soon as I can get this going too. So forgive me while oh, there we go. Let me get in there. Okay. Why can't I see this? There we go. Link. Okay. Okay. Good. I've got the audio going. So welcome. I am fixing some dinner here. I got to turn the volume down. This is what happens when you do solo live streams. You get to be your own tech guy and do all the other stuff. So I'm going to be prepping some food for dinner tonight. My sweetheart gets off in a couple of hours, and I want to have a nice dinner ready for her when she gets home. We're going to bake some potatoes. I've got some carrots. We're going to go ahead and peel and cook carrots, fresh cooked carrots. And one of our neighbors who has a garden or access to a garden brought some fresh peas. So we're going to prep the peas too. So what I wanted to do while I am doing that is just give you the chance to join me on this live stream. And in fact, if you can throw in the chat where you're joining from, then I would love to see any comments or questions you have as we go. I'll try to keep an eye on that. But it's taken me so long to figure the tech part out that I'm going to jump into the food preps now. So when I am getting ready for dinner, one of the things I like to do is look at what we've got in the fridge and the shelf and use it up. You may not think that an empty fridge is a good feeling, but it actually is, because it means well, unless you've thrown it all out, it means that you're using the food you've got and you're not wasting food. Well, I looked in our pantry and we've got some potatoes, but they're starting to look like this. So they're trying to grow. So I know I got to start using some. So I thought I would have some baked potatoes tonight, and I'm going to put those in. I'm going to prep those first. I already mentioned the carrots and the peas. Let me show you how to do this, and I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit so that you can see the counter while I'm working on it. A lot of food prep is a lot easier than you think it might be. This isn't a cooking channel. This is a channel for young men growing up without a dad. And if that's you, then I feel your pain. I know what you've gone through because that's how I grew up. Though I will admit that the times are different and you've got more challenges than I had when I was growing up. Which is why I want you to know there's someone out there that cares about you, is concerned about you, and wants you to have some support and help as you try to figure out how to be a man in today's world. All right, let me adjust the camera, and then I'm going to show you how I do the potatoes. It's really fairly easy. All right, hopefully that's showing the counter now. Okay, first thing we do, I like to eat the skins on the potatoes. So I will scrub them in the sink and just scrub the surfaces to where they're clean. And then if you want to eat the skins, you can have the skins. I've got a little vegetable scrubber, actually just a scrubber, and I do that over the skin. Sorry, this is on the camera. I guess you can see my elbow moving. Scrubbing around the surface. Here's one And then here's the other one. And it looks like there are some of you joining, and I appreciate that. If one of you could do me a favor and just drop a comment in to make sure that the comments part is working and I'm seeing them, that would also be greatly appreciated. I'm going to do a different live stream after this is done of barbecuing chicken. If you want to see that one, then you want to get on Instagram, because I'm going to do that one on Instagram this time. Okay, so I've just scrubbed them with that little veggie scrubber, pat them dry a little bit. Now I like to do this. Someone made a comment, when you cook potatoes the way you do, you're not baking potatoes, you're steaming them. But we'll get just a couple of pieces of aluminum foil. And I went for years without having any problems baking potatoes in the oven without them exploding. But as soon as I said that, I had one explode in the oven. So I go through with a fork and just poke holes in the surface around so that it has any built up pressure inside the potatoes as it's baking has a vent path. And do that. Okay, so now I just poked a whole bunch of random holes in here. The other thing I like to do is I will take a little bit of vegetable oil. This is almost out. And I'm just going to put a little bit on a paper towel. And then I do the outside of the surface with that. So I'm wiping some vegetable oil on the surface of the potato. And then the last thing is to give it a little kosher salt. So we got a little kosher salt. I'll just do this right on the foil. The oil helps the salt stick a little bit. For that falls off, it ends up being in the foil, and it still gets added to the surface when I do it that way. And then wrap it up. And that one's ready. I'll probably have the bigger one. Stepmom has smaller portions usually for dinner than I do. Okay, so there's some kosher salt on the surface, and the surface has been rubbed with a little bit of vegetable oil. That's what I do. If you, just checking the chat, I'm not seeing anything in there. If you've ever done it, or if you have a different way to do it, there's salt down there, then put it in the comments. Let me know how you do it. All right. Now I'm going to have to grab the camera. One of the things whenever I'm cooking, and I don't like to be headless in this, so let me tilt it back up just a little bit. In fact, let me bring it over here. Sorry about that. I'm going to get motion sickness. Hey guys, let me know if you put it in the comments where you're joining from. I'd love to see where you're at or where you're joining me from. I'm going to put this back. I also try to clean as I go. So as soon as I'm done using stuff, I'll try to put it away. Now, these potatoes take the longest to cook. Whenever you're cooking, you always want to start with the thing that takes the longest. Do that first, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, so that the food is all done about when you're planning on sitting down to eat. And sometimes that's a little trickier than you might think. But the potatoes, if you bake them conventionally, they'll take an hour, hour and 15 minutes to do, which is how I like to do them generally. You can microwave them for like 5 minutes, but I'm going to do them conventionally. Now, I know I did a video on this a while ago, and oh, hey, Texas, great. Glad you're on from Texas. All right, so I'm getting this ready. We're not eating for a couple of hours. Our oven and most ovens like this will have a feature where you can set the timer. So I'm going to set a cook time of 1 hour, a start time of 6:05. Oh. Okay, hang on. Let me cook time. Okay, cook time 1 hour, start time 6:05. And then the temperature, I'm going to do this at 375. If you do it a little hotter, it will take a little less time to do it. If you do it a little lower, it'll take a little more time. But that should be good for 2 potatoes baked conventionally. So now, the oven timer is set. I'll just put those in there, and those are now ready to go. So, next thing to prep, well, that's kind of high. I'm going to bring this back over here, and I apologize again for the... Let's tip it down a little bit and hopefully keep the view in. And I appreciate you, Maria, for letting me know that the comments are working too, so I can see that. We're going to do the carrots next, and then if we run out of things to talk about, I'll just do the peas on my own, but we'll start those too. So we're going to clean as we go. I've been on that surface. It's got some spilled salt and a little bit of potato juice. When you poke those potatoes, they squirt a little bit. All right, so we got that done. I've got a couple pans here. I'm going to put a little water in this pan. I'll just cut the carrots after I peel them, throw them right in the water, and then that can sit on the stove and just wait. They'll take probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes to cook. So again, as I get ready for the actual meal, I'll want to turn the stove on about 25 minutes, 30 minutes before I want to sit down and eat dinner. All right, carrots. We used to have, when all our kids were in the house at the same time, mealtime was a little more of a challenge, and a little more exciting, and a little more fun. Not that it's not fun now, but with just me and stepmom, we don't have as much action going on. So I've got a really good vegetable peeler. It's the only piece of Cutco cutlery that I've got. Cutco cutlery is very expensive, and I think that's the reason we got this. It was the cheapest thing they had when they came, but it's really good. And this one works really well. So I'm just peeling the carrots. And with just 2 of us at home, it's nice to have leftovers. So I will do more than we need for just 2 of us so that we can have some leftovers for maybe another meal or 2. So while I do this, I was thinking of some of the memories I've got as a kid sitting in my mom's kitchen while she was doing food prep. And sometimes she would put me to work, peeling carrots maybe, or doing something else. There were times we'd go to my grandma's house and visit her, and the kitchen was a mainstay of activity there too for meal prep. It was a farm. Mom was raised on a farm, so my grandma lived on a farm. So there wasn't just food prep, but there was also a lot of food preservation, especially at harvest time. But things become ripe at different times of the year. Like cherries have just come on where I live, and apricots are coming on, and so depending on if you're into fresh fruits and food preservation, but that's how they lived when I was growing up. So to be in Grandma's kitchen, they'd be bottling or making jam or baking bread or whatever else. So when I put in the description that this is comfort food preps, that's part of what I was thinking about. Now, some of the challenges that you guys are going to face today, sorry, I've got some stray carrot peels here, are economic in nature. Talking to my kids that are all adults now, and some of the challenges that you face are managing money, making enough to not only survive, but hopes of buying a house or retirement or things like that. It's a lot more of a challenge than it was even when I was younger. One of the things you can do to offset that is, we would have called it home economics when I was in school, but things like this. If you do your own cooking, you're actually going to save a lot of money, and you're going to save, be more healthy in the process as well. Let's see, that's probably a 2, 4, 6. I'll do one more. Because I've got a lot of carrots. They keep for quite a while in the fridge, and that's good, but I do need to use them because I don't want to throw food out. That's one of the ways that you can make your money go further. All right. One more. So what do you guys have? It's the 4th of July weekend. What do you guys have planned, if anything, for the 4th of July, not weekend, but week? So this weekend is the 4th of July. I'm going to move that a little closer so you can see this process too. And this will probably be a little too, well, I'll probably be the headless stepdad here. But this knife, I got this a while ago. Japanese steel. It's very nice. It's my favorite one. I probably need to sharpen it again. When I'm cooking carrots, I just kind of put them in, cut the ends off. And then I'll cut them in. The tips you can cut off and throw in if they're not too fat diameter. Otherwise, I'll cut it down the middle. If that's thin enough, that's good. The thicker it is, the longer it'll take to cook thoroughly. So you want them kind of a uniform thickness when you're done. And if you want them to cook faster, then you cut them thinner. All right, I'm going to do that one in half that way and here. We do not have any special 4th of July plans this year. We are meeting family on Saturday for luncheon at a restaurant, which will be nice. We'll probably just go out in the neighborhood and see who's got the best fireworks display and watch that one on Friday, though. All right. So one of the things about this type of meal prep too is you can set this aside. The busiest time for meal prep is like right before, when you're trying to get all the food done, cooked, and served at the same time. And ideally, you want it all to be hot and freshly cooked at that time. Well, you can spare yourself some of the stress by prepping this. This can sit in a pan for hours. We won't need it to, but for hours and still be okay. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. When I go out to barbecue later, which won't be on this live stream, then I can just turn this on about half an hour before mealtime and go from there. So this channel is intended primarily for young men growing up without a dad. And if that's how you are or have grown up, I would love to know from your perspective what the biggest challenges you've had. And if you want to drop a comment and let me know. Also, if there's videos that I can make for you, let me know. I don't know everything. That ought to be probably pretty clear. But I can relate to the challenges, both practical and emotional. And I have had some folks that have helped me learn some of the things that I didn't know when I was growing up. So I would love to help you if that's the boat you're in. All right, that's a big fat carrot here. Yeah, this will be good for leftovers too. Now, don't cut yourself when you're doing this. I don't know if you guys have seen the Chef Jeffrey videos that I've done. The last one we did was chicken parmesan. That was actually fun. Some of the comments on some of the platforms, it was interesting because if you haven't ever cooked, it might feel to you like it's a lost art, something you'll never be able to do. And the reality is, when you try it, you're going to screw up sometimes. But the worst you're going to have is cut finger, hopefully not, or a burned meal or a wasted meal. And that's hardly much of tuition to learn a skill that can serve you and save you money for the rest of your life. So, all right, we've about got this done. And this I will just set on the stove with the lid on till about a half an hour before our planned meal time. And then we'll have some fresh carrots. Much healthier than French fries, wouldn't you think? All right, we'll put that lid on. We'll set this over here. If you're sticking with me on the live stream, I'm glad you're here still. There is one other thing that I'm going to prep right now, and that is these fresh peas that one of our neighbors was kind enough to give us as they harvested from their garden. My grandmother would plant peas in her garden. She had probably I don't know, it might have been a half an acre garden right by her house, but it was a good sized garden, certainly bigger than anything we had. Again, she lived on a farm, so that was how they got their food, was to grow it and preserve it, largely. All right, we're going to take these peas and shell the peas. This pan may not be big enough, but it certainly will hold enough for me and stepmom. Put a little water in, and then we'll start shelling them. And let's see. I'll get you a better camera angle again. Let me move it out a little bit and maybe tilt it down just a little bit. All right, if you've never shelled peas, let me show you how you do it. Or I should say how I do it. So if you pinch these at the end, now that I moved it back, you pinch them at the end, it kind of splits. And when you pull them apart, depending on how ripe it is, it's kind of cool because they usually go every other one in the pod. So the peas in the pod, you can just run your thumb down the pod, drop them in the water. Fresh vegetables are fantastic. Where I live, there's one farm we go to all the time. Christensen Farm in Tremont has the best corn. I don't think corn's on yet. Maybe it is, I haven't checked. But every year we will get a bunch of dozens of ears of corn and freeze that in the freezer for the coming year because it is good. Much better than canned. All right, let's see. I mentioned this channel is for young men growing up without a dad. I wrote a book for you if that is you. If you're a young man growing up, even an adult man, young adult man, and you're struggling with adulthood, practicalities, and honestly, the emotions, the challenges, emotional challenges of having grown up without a loving dad, then this book is one that I wrote just for you. I would invite you to check it out. If you go to maptomanhood.org, you can download this graphic, and this graphic shows a lot of the lessons that I discovered that I was at risk of not getting while I was growing up without a dad. Learning self-discipline, learning social skills, getting direction in life with encouragement from someone that cares about you. And the biggest challenge was learning to love yourself. And in this book, oh, that one's perfect. See all these peas in the pod? Maybe I should scoot it up. In the book, it's got a lot of practical tools or suggestions or lessons for how you can address those things in your own life so that you don't have to suffer from the challenges of being a young man without a dad that are unfortunately very common today. All right, so now it's closer up. See, if I pinch the end, it separates, and then you can just reach in there and with your thumb pull those out. This is where, if you're on a farm, you get all your kids, put them to work. Since I don't have any, I get to do the work. But fresh peas are like fresh beans. Fresh vegetables are really, really good. One of the books I'm reading is on nutrition, and unfortunately, our nutritional habits in the U.S. particularly, probably a lot of other places in the world too, have not been very good for our brain health and for our overall health for a long time. But fresh vegetables are a good fix to it. Now this one feels really full, so this one's probably right. But yeah, those are big peas. They're sweetest a little before they get to their biggest point. And you can actually just pop these in your mouth and see. Oh, that one's good. Oh yeah, those are good. You don't even have to cook them. All right, well, I am going to finish these, but I don't know that this is makes for a terribly exciting live stream of watching Stepdad's hands put peas in a pan. If there were comments, I would talk to those comments. Questions I could answer, if there were any, I would love to help any way that I can. But rather than just keep you guys watching me shell peas, I might, oh, look at that one, those are good. Delicious, let's see. Oh yeah, well that's still sweet. Oh, you gotta try those. All right. I would invite you to put your comments in. If you're watching this after, which most of you probably will be, and I'm glad that whoever is still on, and I'm glad you're there. Put your comments in, what questions you have, what are the challenges that you have been facing if you've grown up without an involved dad or with a negative relationship with your dad. And let me see if they've got stuff that I can use that might help you with that. If you haven't downloaded the Map to Manhood, go to maptomanhood.org. You can get this free graphic download, and it outlines the different milestones. It's basically just that. It's a map. They're outlined in detail in the book, The Map to Manhood, which you can get from Amazon, and work through the healing process or fill in the gaps for what you didn't have because you grew up without a dad, if that's you. I hope you know you got a dad that loves you, and I am glad you watched this, and I will see you on the next live stream. Now I got to figure out how to stop this. I guess it's here. All right. Have a happy 4th of July, and we'll see you on the next video.